This is it.
Minshew has one-on-one for AJ.
This is all you got.
He's got it. AJ Brown into the
I want you to hear it. Pump up the volume.
to the end zone. Touchdown Eagles. 76 yards. They find the end zone in loud fashion.
Okay, now we're back in this game. You're thinking as far as the team in their head thinking, right? Now Nick Sirianni's thinking we're back in this game. Gardner Minshew's thinking we're back in this game. All of a sudden, you're back in this game. Except you're not. You're not back in this game. You were never in this game. The Philadelphia Eagles were humiliated. They were embarrassed. I don't give a rat's ass that they had a backup quarterback in there. You know who's had a backup quarterback in there that's won 9 straight games? The San Francisco 49ers. So what the hell are we talking about right now? That I should feel sorry? That I should feel bad? That I should just excuse away a second straight loss? And look, they're coming in different fashions, in different form here. The first loss was everybody. Minshew wasn't really at fault. The second one was everybody, but Minshew was really at fault. I don't even know where to begin. I'm so frustrated with this football team because they put themselves in this spot right now where all of a sudden it's a must-win scenario, even though you've had the best record in the NFL for a while. You clinched a playoff spot for a while, and then all of a sudden Jalen Hurts went down, and you look lost. You look lost. I want to focus on 2 things. I know you got the A.J. Brown, and I may just have to sprinkle it in here every now and again, but this was the worst, of all things that happened, this was the worst yesterday.
2nd down and 8. Quick throw is picked off. Marshawn Lattimore read it. And a pick 6 in his first game back.
Terrible.
It's the first interception of the season by a Saints
disgraceful
corner.
effort.
And it might be a backbreaker against
CBS
the
with the
Eagles.
calls there. Here's what happened. If you have a combination of not knowing what play you're running and the other team knowing what play you're still running, you're never going to win. Marshawn Lattimore knew what was coming. A.J. Brown did not. How the hell are you going to be successful? And I'm not saying that's on A.J. Brown. I don't know who the hell it's on, but there's no way that A.J. Brown ran that route with the intent of getting the football. In fact, and I was sitting with Gary Cobb before the Fox 29 postgame show, and I look over at G, and I was like, it looks like A.J. thought it was a run play. There was another play in which you had an illegal man downfield on a play action because he thought it was an RPO. The biggest thing that happened on Sunday was a lack of preparation. More so than anything else, it was a lack of preparation, and that fed into a lack of execution. The Eagles embarrassed themselves at home, and they can conveniently just plug away on the whole Gardner Minshew narrative. That's not going to work. Jalen Hurts has saved this team's ass time and time again when they played similar games like we saw against the Saints. But you didn't have a stopgap. You didn't have a safety net. You didn't have a cure-all in Jalen Hurts. Instead, you got that. And then you had this insane opening drive. The insanity in this opening drive.
You know Kamara, just Prentice back there with him. He'll straight ahead one more time, and he's in for the Saints.
You got to get people off the field,
what an
man.
Impressive opening drive for New Orleans in a must-win game, an early score.
Another one, inexcusable. How can you let this happen? You saw this against Washington. Opening drive, 8+ minutes, score. Now what do? That was with Jalen Hurts. This was with Gardner Minshew. Awful to see this. And you want to talk about Jalen Hurts? We'll talk about Jalen Hurts. I get that. But the game was way more than just a backup quarterback in there. And Gardner Minshew is a backup quarterback when you have Gardner Minshew behind Jalen Hurts. But a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, from backup to just that little gap between the two, or that line between the two, are like Gardner Minshew. You've got starting quarterbacks out there that aren't better than Gardner. So I don't want to just write this off like, oh, my God. And again, Brock Purdy, the last freaking guy drafted in the NFL, is out here leading, or at least not hurting, the San Francisco 49ers 9 straight wins. I can't look at this team with kid gloves because of what's going on with the 49ers. Can't do it. All right? This was a winnable football game. On defense, you looked ill-prepared. You didn't make much adjustment. You were feast or famine with sacks. That's it. How many 4-and-outs are we going to see in a row on offense? Miles Sanders neglected again against a top defense that you can exploit. They don't stop the run. What the freak is going on here? It's like Jalen Hurts is gone, and next thing you know, everything is done. The team just lost all its identity. It's over for Minshew madness. It's over for Minshew mania. It's over for Minshew. It's just over. It's over. If Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback for this football team, and it's not all on him, but that ball was coming out so damn slow. If Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback for this football team, they're not winning anything. In fact, they're prime upset material in the postseason. I don't think it's going to be that. We'll get to Jalen before we get out of here, but just that game gives you no confidence. And how could it? You were sacking the quarterback. Look, I'm just going to give you a breakdown of how pathetic of a result that game was and how ridiculous it was that they lost that football game. I want you to get your coffee, your tea, your whiskey, whatever it is you're ready. Just get it ready here because this is a heavy one. So I want you fully prepared. I'll give you a second here. In fact, what I'll do is I'll give you the one true moment of bliss one more time.
Minshew has one-on-one for A.J. Brown. He's got it. A.J. Brown into the open field. Foot on the gas to the end zone. Touchdown Eagles. 76 yards. They find the end zone.
Look, A.J. giveth, taketh away. We get that. But Gardner Minshew, the one time that he did trust A.J. Brown, just throw the ball up, man. AJ's going to make a play. Devontae Smith is going to make a play. Just throw. Dallas Goedert, throw the ball up. There was no confidence and no zip behind the ball, and that's a same-game parlay for disaster right there. Awful. You cannot survive. You cannot live that way. It just can't happen. And the Eagles blew opportunity after opportunity by not hammering that home to Gardner Minshew and not taking pressure off enough with Miles Sanders. So Minshew, as a result, just not good. Not good enough. Can you imagine sacking the opposing quarterback 7 times, having not one but 2 receivers? Now he's like 5 yards off, but you essentially had 2 receivers with 100 yards apiece, and you only put up 10 points. I don't get it. Don't get it. And then you have Dennis Allen, this bozo of a head coach at the end of the game, talking about, well, how big it was for Marshawn Lattimore in the return. You're going to listen.
Huge.
If I had to sit there and listen to this shit, you're going to listen to this shit.
Coaches, made a couple of adjustments over there on the sideline. A play that,
it just keeps going and going and going.
Might get, and Ladd did a great job of jumping the route and finishing it, That's the other part.
This is one of the worst head coaches
throughout the season,
favored or even as a dog of like less than 7 points. The draft pick, all the things that come with this, it's awful. This was one of the worst losses, regular season losses. And I know Gardner Minshew was the quarterback, but again, I can't get off the whole thing with San Francisco. And I don't think I have to get off the whole thing with San Francisco. The Eagles are just as good as San Francisco around the quarterback position. No coaching, no execution, no confidence, no leadership. Something is missing. Something is missing. All right, let's hit the 3 big takeaways. Oof. Let's work in reverse order here. All right. The third worst, right? And there's no positive here because these are all bad. The third worst takeaway was you weren't able to really do much outside of sacking the quarterback on defense. And that opening drive set the tone to where you were constantly playing from behind. And you have to up the ante. If you're dealing with a certain betting unit size, or if you're dealing with a certain play, whatever, you have to up the ante at some point to narrow the gap. And you were relying on an offense that just showed no signs of being able to do that. And that bit you right in the ass. Right in the ass. And Jonathan Gannon, the defense didn't do enough. I know 7 sacks. They didn't do enough. The one pick, too little, too late. That opening drive was gut-wrenching. Second takeaway. I mean, it's the quarterback. It's the quarterback. It's so bad right now. You could see it visibly on the faces of these players. A.J. Brown, look, I credit you, man, because I know what it's like to leave a failure, go to a winner, something doesn't work out, and all you want to do is just go back to what it was when you were with a loser. But the mentality has changed, and I credit him, man. He said the right things. His face didn't, but he said the right things. And it's easy to say the wrong things, and we're waiting for somebody to say the wrong things. But what could you say? Minshew was horrible. They were so bad, and Minshew deserves his own takeaway because he couldn't fix the problem. And some of that's unfair because Jalen Hurts is a master at fixing things, problems, and issues that Gardner Minshew is not. But he couldn't do a damn thing like Hurts could at least attempt. And that's what kills you in these types of games, and really most games. Not taking on this Colts team anymore, the Bears team anymore. This is a Saints defense that was clearly good enough and up for the challenge. Now, number one, this team was totally on the wrong page. This team was totally off when it came to communications, and I don't know how you can get around that. That pick six from Marshawn Lattimore, he already saw the play develop earlier and nearly picked it off with Quez Watkins, knew that these inside routes were coming, just way ahead of the play calling. Then on top of that, it looked like A.J. Brown didn't know the ball was coming or that Gardner Minshew threw the wrong spot. Something was a major breakdown there. How you have an offensive lineman downfield on a play action where he clearly thought it was an RPO, just absurd, absolutely unforgivable that you would be on the wrong page in a game that you could have won and made next week meaningless. And since then, you have added exponentially a healthy amount of drama right now, and it's absurd, if you ask me, why they're even in this position. So that begs the question about Jalen Hurts. Yeah, he's back. Absolutely, he's back. It opened up as a 13-point line. Okay, let's talk about two things before we get out of here. First, Jalen Hurts. It's crazy, and this is why I'm so frustrated with the team, is that Jalen didn't need to be back. He did not need to be back this week against the Giants. Well, just to get a couple of reps in there. He didn't need that. This was a dude who was dominating the NFL. You're saying taking 3-4 weeks off, he's going to forget how to play football? No, and it's not like he's suspended and he can't practice, etc. He would be fine. But the team now is all of this pressure. And let me tell you what's going on right now. They got away with acing, or maybe not even acing. They got away with like a C+. If they beat the Giants, they will get away with like a C+ after procrastinating for 2 weeks. And if you remember when you went back to school and all that, and you procrastinated, you put something off, it was a paper, a project, studying, anything you had to do, yeah. You finally get it done. What are you going to do? You're either going to go out, party, and act like nothing happened and be like, oh, yeah, and go through the same damn thing again and never learn a lesson, or you're going to feel so tight and like, oh, that was, and still never learn your lesson, but you're not going to feel like yourself. There's not going to be this collective exhale. It's going to be nerves, or it's going to be blacking out to celebrate something that should not be celebrated. I don't know. He's back, but I'll leave you with this thought. 2004, Bill Cowher, meaningless game for his Pittsburgh Steelers. Buffalo Bills, on the other hand, needed a win. They needed a win. Now, granted, they needed a win to get in, but they needed a win. And all hands on deck for the team that needed to win. Meanwhile, the other side, nope, we're not playing, guys. We're fine. What happened? Bill Cowher and the Steelers, despite everybody telling you to bet the Bills, put your kid's mortgage, future mortgage on all that, they lost. And the Steelers won. And if you don't think the Giants are aware that 10 wins is most likely going to give Brian Daboll the coach of the year, I know Doug may have another thing to say about that, but he could lose to the Titans. We don't know. The Giants are playing for something. They may not have Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley out there, but they are playing for something. You better believe it. Appreciate you rolling with us. We're here every week for the Eagles, at least. It's disappointing how this thing ended, but We love you. Thumbs up, subscribe. Philly Voice Sports Bets in effect here as well. Have a great one. Go Birds.